Hey everybody, I'm Roy Canning.
I'm Joy Evans.
And today we're taking a look at two different hero packs for Marvel Champions. We're taking a look at Psylocke and Angel. I'm not sure why Joey's here, but I'm going to review these. Let's take a look at how they play. All right, let's take a look at Angel here. If we flip over to his alter ego side, this is Warren. He has 3 recovery, a hand size of 6 and 12 hit points, so not too bad there. And then regrowth action, heal 1 damage from Warren, limit once per round. So basically, even without doing your recovery, if you're on the side, you can at least be healing 1 damage. And then you have 2 different sides you can flip to. You can either flip to Angel, which has 2 thwart, 1 attack, 2 defense. Angel of Life response, after you play an aerial event, draw a card. So playing aerial events is going to help you refill your hand, which is awesome, so you can play even more cards. But then also this can be flipped open, kind of like Ant-Man could, and you have this big, gigantic Archangel here. This has 0 thwart, 2 attack, 3 defense, and then basically a thing here that makes the threat go up even faster each round. And then Angel of Death response. After you play an aerial event, deal damage to the enemy equal to the event's printed cost. So as you play those aerial events, you're going to be dealing extra damage, and this is limit once per phase. So it's awesome. Kind of gives you different sides you can play there. And then let's take a look, see if we can see some of these aerial events and all the different aerial stuff that goes on with Angel here. So this is Techno Organic Wings. This is an upgrade for 3 costs. Hero action, exhaust Techno Organic Wings. If you are Angel, you get to ready your hero. If you're Archangel, you reduce the cost of the next aerial event you play from your hand by 2 this phase, which is crazy because when I thought, I was like, oh man, Angel's going to be amazing drawing extra cards. But with stuff like this, it just makes cards cost cheaper, which is really cool. So then there's also a support here, Worthington Industries. This costs 1. Action, exhaust this, and shuffle 1 aerial card from discard pile into your deck. If you're an alter ego form, draw a card. So this is just an action. You can do this in either of your hero forms or in your alter ego form. Then you have a 3-cost event here, Adaptive Plumage. Hero action, thwart. If you're an Angel, remove 3 threat from the scheme and confuse the enemy. Hero action, attack. If you're an Archangel, deal 4 damage to the enemy and stun it, which is awesome because it deals 3 damage, but of course if you're an Archangel, because this event costs 3, it would deal 3 extra damage. So it says 4 here, but 4, 5, 6, 7. This would technically be 7 damage off this 1 card, which would be pretty cool. You get a couple of those. Then you have Razor Dive. This is a 3-cost event. Deal 6 damage to an enemy. If you're an Archangel, this attack gains Overkill and Piercing. And once again, because it costs 3, that would technically be like 9 damage with 3, which seems pretty daggone good to me if you're in Archangel mode. Then Metamorphosis here. This is a 2-cost event. Change form. When you're in Warren, you're going to draw a card. When you're an Angel, you remove 2 threat. When you're an Archangel, you'll deal 3 damage to the enemy. So this kind of like helps you out. In any of your different forms, you're going to kind of be able to do different things depending on what you're trying to do there. So very versatile with that. And then Aerial Agility, this is a 1-cost event. Hero Interrupt, defense, when an enemy attacks you, if you're an Angel, ignore each boost icon on the boost and the boost ability for that attack. If you're Archangel, give your hero a tough status and gain Retaliate for that attack. So if you're an Archangel, you can kind of just make it so you don't take any damage with that toughness. That's awesome. Natural Flight, this is a 2-cost event. Then it is a hero action, thwart, remove 4 threat from a scheme. If you're an Angel, this ignores the crisis icon and the patrol keyword. So if you're doing Angel, you can kind of get around there and make sure you actually can make that happen. And then Avian Anatomy here, this is a resource. Response, after you spin this card to play an aerial event, you return that event to your hand after resolving its effect. Basically allowing you to spam something like Razor Dive over and over again. So you can do 10 damage or 9 damage multiple times in a row. Or multiple turns in a row. Seems pretty cool to me. You get 2 of those, and then you have your signature ally here. This is Psylocke. This is a 3-cost, 1 thwart, 1 attack with the little asterisk there, 1 consequential damage on each. Hero response, after Psylocke attacks, if you're Angel, you heal a damage from Psylocke, which is cool, which lets her to stay in play, which is awesome. Archangel, ready your hero. So allowing Archangel to attack multiple times, which seems really cool as well. All right, so Angel is protection here. So we have a few things here. We have Siren, 4 cost, 2 thwart, 2 attack with asterisk there. After Siren attacks, stun a minion. So if there's pesky minions, you can make it so that they're stunned. Elixir here, 4 cost ally, another pretty expensive. 1 thwart with asterisk, 1 attack. And then play only if your identity is X-Force or X-Men. After Elixir attacks and thwarts, heal 1 damage from another friendly character. So this is an ally that could technically heal your other allies, which is pretty cool. Or heal your hero, you know, if you need that. Warpath. This has 2 thwart, but it has 2 consequential damage on that. 2 attack, 1 consequential damage. Has toughness. After Warpath defends against an attack, play an event with a hero action ability from your hand, paying its cost. So this can kind of let you do a hero action ability during the when you're defending against an attack, which is kind of interesting for Warpath. So he can kind of like allow you to play cards when they wouldn't normally be allowed to play. This is a 1 cost support here. Angel's Eerie. Response after you defend against an attack, place 1 fatigue counter on here. Alter Ego action, remove each fatigue counter from here, heal 1 damage from your identity for each fatigue counter removed this way. So just another way to heal a little bit if you're defending against a bunch of attacks. All right, here is another card. It is a 1 cost upgrade attached to a non-permanent side scheme, max 1 per side scheme. After a hero defends against an attack, remove 1 threat from the attached side scheme. 2 threat instead if that hero took no damage from the attack. This is kind of an interesting card that can allow you to remove threat from schemes just by defending, which is pretty cool. But it has to be the non-permanent side scheme. So, you know, it can allow you to get rid of different stuff like that. This is a 2 cost event here. Ever Vigilant. Play only if your identity has the aerial trait. Ready your hero and remove 2 threat from the main scheme. What? Getting to attack again or thwart again seems awesome. Anytime you're being able to ready seems fun. This is Taunt here. This is a 1 cost event. The villain attacks you. Other characters cannot defend against this attack. Draw 3 cards, allowing you to refill your hand and kind of like getting to the cards you need. It was pretty awesome. I mean, you're going to be taking damage maybe, unless you're defending against it, and then you're just drawing a bunch of cards. Aerial Intervention. This is a interrupt. When a character would take any amount of damage from an attack, exhaust an aerial character you control to prevent 3 of that damage, which is awesome. So you can prevent damage with your aerial characters. And then render medical aid. This is a player side scheme. This basically, when defeated, each player, let me actually turn this sideways so you can see it. Each player heals a total of 5 damage from among the characters they control. So basically being able to heal up a bunch of your characters if you're able to get rid of that side scheme. Then Cannonball here, 2 thwart, 3 cost, 2 thwart with 2 consequential damage, 2 attack with 2 consequential damage. When Cannonball would take any amount of consequential damage, reduce that amount by X, where X is the number of aerial cards in your hand. Which with Angel, it's easy to have at least 2 aerial cards in hand, so Cannonball can attack without taking consequential damage, which is amazing. And he's aerial, so he can kind of trigger off of a bunch of your different cards, like your aerial intervention. You could exhaust him instead, which is awesome. Then we have Soaring Acrobatics is a 2 cost upgrade. When a player one per player, basically. Hero Interrupt. When an aerial character you control uses a basic power, exhausts Soaring Acrobatics, that character gets +1 power for this use. So you could use that on Angel, you could use that on Cannonball, you could use it on different characters that you have that have aerial, which is pretty cool. Soaring Hearts. This is a 2 cost event. This is basically the team up card for Angel and Psylocke. Search your discard pile for an identity specific event and add it to your hand. Ready Angel and Psylocke. So basically allowing them to get back in there. And then Power of Flight. Double the number of resources this card generates when playing for an aerial card. So another resource thing there that helps you with even more aerial cards. And then, of course, we have the obligations and things like that, which I'd like to not go into too much, so that way when it pops out of the deck, you can be surprised basically by what happens. And then there's, of course, the Nemesis and all of his stuff. Harpoon trying to basically mess up all of Angel's aerial things and stuff like that. And then these are the extra cards that come in the deck. Bombs Away. This is a aggression card that you could add into your Angel deck or any other aggression deck. This is an aerial tactic. Exhaust an aerial character you control and choose a player. Deal 3 damage to the villain for each minion engaged with that player. So it's a kind of tricky, interesting card. Then Eyes in the Sky. When you reveal a non-elite minion, exhaust an aerial card you control and discard this card. Cancel the effects of the card and discard it. Then reveal another card from the encounter deck. It's just another way to kind of like mitigate the encounter deck if you're playing Justice there. And then Flying Formation. This is a 4-cost event. Alliance. The players can play this... Players can pay this card's cost as a group, which is always kind of a fun cooperative mechanic, I think. Ready up to 3 aerial characters. That's pretty cool. That would be kind of interesting. And the fact that it's a 4-cost aerial event means that Archangel will be dealing 4 damage with it as well, which is another thing to think about. Kind of the fact that these things are expensive kind of changes things up with Angel, because it's like, well, it's expensive, but I get to do extra damage, which seems cool. And then X-Force Recruitment Upgrade. Play only if your identity has X-Force attached to one friendly character. Attached character gains +1 hit point and X-Force. So X is going to give it to you, I guess. There you go. And that is Angel. Let's take a look at Psylocke. All right, Psylocke. Let's start over with alter ego form here. Betsy Braddock. She has 3 recovery. She has a hand size of 6 and 10 hit points. Psychic Manifestation. Setup. Put your 2 Psi Energy upgrade cards into play. Psi Knife face up. And then as an action, you can exhaust 1 Psi Energy upgrade to shuffle 1 psionic card from your discard pile into your deck. So, seems pretty important to know what these cards are. We'll kind of go into the different Psi Knife, Psi Katana things here in a second. But let's look at the hero side as well. So Psylocke has 1 thwart with an asterisk, 1 attack with an asterisk, 2 defense with an asterisk. Then the asterisk here, Psi Energy. Interrupt when you use one of Psylocke's basic powers, thwart, attack, or defense. Flip 1 Psi Energy upgrade. So let's take a look at these Psi Energy upgrades. And you do note that she has only a hand size of 4, so her hand size is pretty small for her hero side there. How does that get mitigated? That's with these different psionic, basically Psi Energy weapons that she has. So you have 2 of these that she starts the game with in play. And the Psi Knife side says Psylocke gets +1 thwart. So even though she only has 1 here, she kind of has 2 if she needs it. If she has 1 Psi Knife on the knife side, or 3 if she has both Psi Knives on the Psi Knife side. So she gets +1 thwart for that. And then also, hero resource, you can exhaust this to generate a science resource. You may flip this card. So if we flip these, different things are going to let you flip these cards, whether it be Psylocke herself or the cards themselves when you use them, that sort of thing. Psi Katana, she can basically switch her into a Psychic Katana. This is another permanent restricted. And then it says Psylocke gets +1 attack for her basic attacks, and they gain piercing. So even though it says she only has 1 attack here, she does actually technically have either 2 attack. She could have 1 attack if they were both on Psi Knife, 2 attack if one is on Psi Knife, one is on Katana, and 3 if it's both on Katana. So flipping these back and forth kind of make you have attack or thwart depending on kind of what you're trying to go for. And then you can also, as a hero resource, exhaust Psi Katana to generate a physical resource. You may flip this card. So that's basically your knives, which you're kind of using during the game to do different things. And that's kind of what Psylocke is all about, doing her psychic weapons there. And then she has Training Regiment, a support here. You can exhaust Training Regiment to search your deck for a skill card and add it to your hand. If you are in hero form, you discard a card from your hand. So if you're not in hero form, you can kind of keep that card as well. So that's kind of cool. And then we have some other skills. What kind of skills are you going to go for? Let's see. Psionic Training. This is a 1-cost upgrade. Psylocke ignores the guard and patrol keywords. After Psylocke thwarts, discard this and confuse the enemy. So that's a pretty cool skill there. You confuse people. And you will note that Psylocke will be confusing people a whole bunch and sometimes stunning people as well. Martial Artist here. This is a 1-cost upgrade. Psylocke gets +1 defense. Hero response after Psylocke defends against an attack. Discard this and ready Psylocke. So she can defend and pop right back up, which is awesome. And gets that +1 defense for it. Weapons Training. This is a 2-cost upgrade. You gain Retaliate 1. After Psylocke attacks, discard Weapon Training. Ready each weapon upgrade you control, which of course these weapons, which are her psychic weapons, can be exhausted for resources. You do this and attack, they unexhaust, you're going to have more resources to be able to play more cards out of your hand, which seems awesome. Mental detection. This is a 2-cost event. Remove 1 threat from a scheme for each side knife you have in control. Remove 2 additional threat from the scheme. So basically, if you have your side knives active, then you're going to be able to remove an additional threat. And for each side katana you have, you draw a card. So it depends on whether you want to remove extra threat or you want to be drawing extra cards. So, and you have a couple of those, or actually 3 of those. Some pretty good versatility with that. Then Fury of Blades is a 3-cost event. Deal 2 damage to an enemy for each side knife you control. Choose an enemy and confuse it. For each side katana you control, choose an enemy and deal 2 damage to it. So have to decide whether you want to be dealing extra or confusing people or dealing extra damage. So that's pretty cool. So you have 3 of those as well. And then Psionic Redirect is a 2-cost event. Hero Interrupt. When you would take any amount of damage from an enemy attack, prevent 2 of that damage. For each side katana you have in control, prevent 2 additional damage. For each side knife you have in control, confuse the enemy. So you can see how, depending on the sides of your knife or your katana, you're going to be able to have different effects on all of the cards that she has here. And then Telepathic Suggestion. When you reveal a card from the encounter deck, cancel its when revealed effect. For each side katana you control, choose an enemy to deal 2 damage to it. For each side knife you control, remove 1 threat from a scheme. That seems good. And then we have Angel here as our signature ally. This is a 3-cost ally, 1 thwart, 2 attack, 1 consequential damage for each. After you play Angel from your hand, ready your identity. So basically you can unexhaust with Angel there. And then we have Pete Wisdom as an ally here. This is a 4-cost ally, 3 thwart, 2 consequential damage, or 2 attack, 1 consequential damage. Play only if your identity has the X-Force trait. After you resolve the when revealed effect of a treachery card, heal 1 damage from him. So he basically can heal himself a little bit. Then we have X Bunker. This is a 2-cost support. Exhaust X Bunker. Choose a player whose identity is mutant trait. That player searches the X cards of their deck. Any card where X is the number in the side scheme victory display, and adds that card to their hand. So basically you're going to be able to, if you have a bunch of side schemes that you've completed, you're going to be able to do extra stuff there. This is play if your identity has X-Force trait, exhaust IPAC, and deal 1 face-down encounter card to a player. So that stinks, but that player gets to draw a card. So if you really, really need extra cards to do stuff, you could have that. And Telepathy here, play only if your identity has a psionic trait, max 1 per player. Hero action, thwart, exhaust Telepathy, and spend 2 science resources, which you can basically always have if you have your side knives in play. This will basically be a thing that you can kind of do once you get it kind of set up. You can kind of do it over and over again without having to play any other cards if you really wanted to. And then you can remove 2 threat from a scheme. So a little bit expensive there, but it's a thing that can just give you that versatility to be able to remove threat when you really need to. And then here is a 0-cost event, Directive Force. When your hero makes an attack that has a keyword overkill, piercing, or ranged, that attack deals 2 additional damage, max 1 per attack. And the cool thing is, with her Sai Katanas, they're basically always going to have piercing, so you should be able to always do this if you have at least 1 Sai Katana active. So you do get 3 of those. And then Soaring Hearts. This is basically the team-up that we talked about with Angel, which basically you search your discard pile for an identity-specific event, add it to your hand, and ready Angel and Psylocke. So another thing that teams up there. And then Power of the Mind. I think we've seen this card before, and maybe some of the other decks. Double the number of resources that are generated when paying for a psionic card. So that's pretty cool, which of course Psylocke has a ton of those. And let's take a look. She is Justice here. So this is her Justice cards. This is a 4-cost ally, Captain Britain. 3 thwart with an asterisk there, and 2 consequential damage, 3 attack with an asterisk. But then it's 2 consequential damage for that as well. He takes 1 fewer consequential damage after he thwarts a side scheme or attacks a minion. So if you're not going for the main scheme or the main villain there, he's going to take less consequential damage. And 3 is pretty daggone good. He does cost 4, but he does have 3 hit points, so he could do this a few times. So in theory, if you're attacking minions and not attacking the main guy, you could be hitting even harder than normal, you know. And then we do have Cypher here, 2 cost ally, 1 attack, 1 thwart. There's an asterisk here on the attack. After he attacks and damages, confuse an enemy and draw a card. And confusing an enemy is awesome, especially because it'll trigger off some of the other cards in the deck here. And of course, less threat will be getting on schemes if you're confusing people. Then Concussive Blow. This is a 3-cost event. Confuse an enemy. If you paid for this card using a fighting resource, which is really easy to do with the katana there, because you can just exhaust that to make sure you have that. Deal 3 damage to that enemy. So you can confuse the bad guy and deal damage to him at the same time. Pretty good. It does cost 3 though, pretty expensive, but you can make it happen. Float like a butterfly. This is a 2-cost upgrade. Play under a player's control, max 1 per player. When a character you control attacks a confused enemy, increase the amount of damage that attack deals that enemy by 1. Costs a little bit for that, but you're going to be trying to confuse the bad guy a lot, so that is not too bad. Upside the Head. This is a 1-cost event. After your hero makes a basic attack and damages an enemy, confuse that enemy. If the enemy is already stunned, or the enemy is already confused, stun it instead. Of course, stunning the enemy makes it so that they can't attack you back, which could be awesome. So you have 3 of those. And then we have Lay the Trap. This is a player side scheme. Basically the way this works is it's 3 per player, and then the player who defeats this side scheme deals 5 damage to the villain per player, which is crazy because, I mean, it basically converts your thwart into damage. But the fact of if you're playing like a 3-player game, this 1 card, I mean, you have to do 9 thwart on it, which is not crazy in a multiplayer game, but you'd be dealing 15 damage. Seems awesome. But yeah, of course, the villain is going to have more and more hit points the bigger they are, you know. And then Body Swapped is the obligation here. I don't want to go too much into these because I like people to be able to discover them. Chimera is her nemesis here, and you have all the different stuff for this as well. You can pause the video if you really want to read what all of this stuff does, but I like to not even necessarily spoil it for myself because I want to see what the cards do randomly when they pop up. And then we have the extra cards if you want to play her in different aspects. We have Psy Bow Attack. Play only if your hero has the psionic trait. Deal 4 damage to an enemy. That attack gains range. So 2 costs, 4 damage, not too bad. That's actually pretty solid. And then Domino for an ally here. Domino, after you use one of Domino's basic powers, swap a card in your hand with the top card of your deck. So you can swap cards, which is very much like what the Domino character does, which you can watch our review for that as well. If you want to do the X-Force box that we looked at. She has 1 thwart, 2 attack, and yeah, so there you go. After she does stuff, she gets to swap those cards. Then Psy Flail Strike. Play only if your identity has a psionic trait. After you defend against an enemy attack, deal 3 damage to that enemy and stun it. Of course, stunning and confusing is a lot of what Psylocke does, so that's pretty cool. And then we do have Telekinesis. This is a 1-cost upgrade. Play only if your identity has a psionic trait. Exhaust Telekinesis and deal 3 damage, or exhaust 2 science resources and deal 3 damage to an enemy, which seems it's the exact opposite of the other one. So, and that works very well with the knives as well too. So you can just be dealing out 3 extra damage to an enemy. I like that card. I don't know. I might swap that one in. It's pretty good. But yeah, that is Psylocke. Let's take a look at our thoughts. Oh my goodness. So, Joey, you've played, I mean, if you're hanging around with me, you've been playing more and more Marvel Champions here recently.
Yes, you kind of have to be friends with Roy.
Right. I have played everything for Marvel Champions. I've played all of the different stuff for it, and you're just starting to play more of this new X-Men stuff here.
I am.
How do you feel about these 2 characters in general, in specific?
I like them a lot. I like how different they are. First of all, I like the fold out, the Archangel. You know,
Did you ever play Ant-Man or Wasp?
I did briefly, but Ant-Man more than Wasp.
Gotcha.
But
it was really cool when they first introduced that, and seeing it come back again with Angel was another really cool thing. And it's different. It definitely feels very different.
It does. It feels like because you go back and forth, and now you have that back and forth, and you're like, wait a second, boom!
Yeah, I mean, with Ant-Man and Wasp, their abilities were all about switching and switching and switching and switching as much as possible.
Makes sense.
In this, you could be an Archangel for like a couple turns if you really wanted to. I mean, you're going to raise the threat by a ton.
Right.
But you could be like, I'm just going to focus on dealing as much damage as possible. And I wasn't switching nearly as much as I thought I would.
No, which I really like that. Thematically, it's just like it's a detriment out there, but he can just sit there and do damage.
Right.
But you got to say, just stop for a second, you know?
And he does have the different cards where they're going to do different things depending on
Right.
which side he's in. He has that Metamorphosis card, which will do 3 different things depending on whether he's an alter ego or in the other 2. And then also, like, just each time, I do like the fact of, like, all the aerial combos in his stuff. And the fact that if you're an Angel side, you get to draw a card if you do aerial.
Right.
But if you're an Archangel side, you get to do damage for each aerial card you play. I'm a very aggressive player, so whenever there's anything that says I can do damage in the game, I'm just like, doing damage to the villain is the point of the game. Deal damage as fast as possible. That's basically what I do.
That's exactly what it is. And I like him because that combo stuff. You know, you've got that card, I forgot what it's called, Avian, whatever, that you can actually bring him back in your hand and do it again.
Yeah.
You know,
I think it's like Avian Agility or something like that.
Oh, it's so good. When you have that dive bomb and you hit him hard, and then you bring it back and you're like, I'm going to hit you hard again. And then you've got the upgrade that you can get the discount on those cards. It's all about getting those aerial cards into your hand.
Right.
Which is odd for me because at first, most of the guys, I try to get as many allies as possible.
Right.
But here, I just want to sit there and get more of those aerial cards out and just start hitting hard.
He's very much just an event deck where he just plays events as much as he can, you know?
Right.
He's just going to have those really good events that are just going to be solid for him. And all of his stuff just combos off of the aerial keyword, which is pretty cool because aerial stuff in the game is really strong. I mean, there's like I think it's another card that's called like Dive Bomb. That's like a aggression card that you could put in here, which would just be ridiculous because it costs like 4 and does like 7 damage, which would be a massive amount of damage with Archangel.
Yeah.
But it's really cool to think about what kind of deck building you could do with him in the future.
Yep.
What about Psylocke, though? She's completely different. She has those katanas and knives that you're flipping back and forth against. She's a little bit more nuanced, but she's a powerhouse, too. She
is. And having those 2 cards out and the smaller hand size, but at first I didn't think I like it, but now I like the fact that the uncertainty of your hand draw is always one of those things you can't plan ahead.
Right.
When she has those 2 cards out there, you can kind of get an idea of what you're going to do. That's what I do like about that.
I normally like anything with like lots of card draw. That's another reason why I like Angel so much. But then like with her, just being able to have those extra resources is good. But then able to kind of like hone the character to the way you want to play. It's like, oh, there's a bunch of schemes out there. Let me boost up her thwart. So you flip over to both of her knife sides. Oh, I need to do a ton of damage. I'm going to flip over to the katana side. So that way you can basically make her stats. When you look at her stat line, it looks like 1-1-2. But in reality, she's a 3-3-2 because if you can manipulate those things so easily based off of whether you use it for resources, you can flip it, or whether you exhaust to actually activate, you can do an interrupt and flip them as well. So you can basically make your stats the way you want them to be. So you're going to be hitting for 3 thwart and 3 attack all the time, you know?
That's the thing. She's so flexible and customizable to where you can also use some resources if you want to. There's so much to do with that.
It's kind of funny because we played against Sentinel, and at the beginning of the game, it's very much tons and tons of side schemes out. So I was like, first turn, just focus totally on thwarting stuff. And then later in the game, it's like, let me switch these to katanas, just stab things to death, you know? So you have those different abilities. She also has the skills that she can pull out of her deck, and she has a bunch of different stuff that combos with these different skills, kind of like boosting her up in little ways. And all of her cards combo off of which side of those, the dagger or the knife or katana side that you have. All of the knife side on the different event cards are going to kind of be like, okay, do more thwart stuff. All of the katana sides are going to be like, do more damage. So depending on how you want to play the character, you can kind of like, she's just one of those flexible characters.
She is. And you can kind of pivot depending on what you need at that certain time of the game.
Yeah, I don't think she's going to be the best thwarter ever or the best like hitter ever, but it's just that flexibility.
I agree.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and I kind of like her combos as well, how it combos off of all of that stuff.
Me too.
So I'm still loving Marvel Champions. I mean, it's my favorite game of all time. I really enjoy what these do. These are definitely very different. I do feel like these are extremely powerful characters.
They really are.
Like, holy smokes, they do really good stuff. I mean, Angel can hit so hard multiple times in a row. And I would say that Psylocke isn't as strong, but I did massive amounts of damage with her as well.
There was one turn, it's like, I think it was close to over 20. It was like, it was hard.
Yeah. How would you rate these different characters, do you think?
Psylocke, I'd probably say at 8, and I think on Angel, I'd come in at 8.5.
That's crazy. Yeah.
I do like Angel a lot because I like that. Now, Angel will be a liability on certain missions and things because you know what he does. But I love I love combos, and he gives you combos just in spades, and you just get that endorphin rush, and you're like, oh, this is gonna be good. Like I even told Roy, I'm like, don't kill him, I got something crazy coming. So that I really like that feeling in the game.
Angel is basically the kind of character I like to play. I like to play games or characters that are just straight up damage. I like to play characters that let you draw lots of cards. Angel kind of lets you do both of those things.
Yep.
So I really enjoy his deck. I'm giving it a 9. I just love like what he does. He's like my kind of character. And Psylocke, just for the versatility, I'm giving it 8.5 just because I think both these characters are great. I think both these characters are fun. If you're interested at all in these characters after you've seen through what a bunch of the cards do, I think these are great characters to pick up.
Fantastic.
But yeah, that is Marvel Champions Psylocke and Angel reveal. But yeah, let's go beat up some more Sentinels.
Ha ha! I did the other Angel thing again.
That's not an angel. That's not what an angel does.
Ha!